Anything boys can do, girls can do better, and girls can do anything better than boys. Many of us women can agree that we execute a lot better than men in anything we do, even driving. So when I first read the article, sororities should throw parties, I thought, yeah, this makes perfect sense. Why wouldn't we let girls provide a safer environment for other girls to be able to socially drink without the problems that come with alcohol? After a lot of research and my own personal spring break experience, I realized exactly why that idea has not come into play. Sororities would not decrease the problem associated with binge drinking and could potentially even create more problems for college campuses. Reason being for why this idea is not favorable is because sexual assault can happen anywhere. Greek girls have a lot more problems with alcohol than non-Greek girls, and sororities just hold themselves to a higher standard than fraternities do in general. This article mainly talks about how sexual assault is one of the biggest issues on college campuses and targets fraternities specifically for being the main reason as to why they happen. But sexual assault can happen anytime and anywhere on a college campus, so the place really doesn't matter. The New York Times article talks about how if sororities were allowed to throw parties, they would provide a safer alternative for fraternity parties by being able to control their entire party scene, such as the dim lights, the mixed drinks, the loud music, who comes in and who comes out, and could potentially stop a guy from taking advantage of a woman or even spiking their drinks with the date rape drug. While it could be harder to commit the crime, the sexual act results from the actual person doing the act itself, not the environment of which it's happening at. Tanya Abbey, a professor of psychology at the Wayne State University, talks about how so many sexual assaults happen away from fraternity parties that colleges should improve their educational programs while at the same time cracking down on drinking altogether, regardless of the gender or venue. It doesn't matter where the event is being held. If alcohol is involved, it's a gateway to sexual crime, because if a person wants to commit the sexual crime, they will commit it. Not only is sexual crimes almost inevitable, Greek girls also have more of a drinking problem than non-Greek girls. This article talks about how if sororities threw parties, they would be providing a safer alternative for fraternity parties because the social group is in general more responsible. But by far, I believe that Greek girls are a lot more out of control than their non-Greek counterparts. During my spring break experience, I went to Panama City Beach, one of the biggest party destinations for spring breakers. I met a lot of non-Greeks and Greeks by being asked the most popular question, what sorority are you in? And most of the girls that were drinking the hardest and were clearly by far past their alcohol limits had their letters on their shirts, their letters on their fanny packs, and unfortunately, even their body parts. Sororities have this persona of being classy and of having high standards, but if you ask me, it's about how you present yourself when you're away from the entire group as a whole. These women did not seem to care about their presentation or their high standards as they revealed their body parts in exchange for colorful, meaningless beads. According to a social study done by Andrea Davenport, about half of sorority women indicated that partying was important to them, and about 1/3 of sorority women talked about how drinking was important to them. It doesn't make sense that for colleges to hand off the responsibility of providing a safer environment for women to a social group that can't even provide a safer environment for themselves. Although sexual assaults are one of the main problems associated with binge drinking, there are many more problems that are associated with alcohol in general and go completely against what sororities nationally stand for. The article states that if sororities did throw parties, that they wouldn't be throwing cake and tea affairs, hinting at their good, classy, high-standard reputations that sororities have managed to maintain. To my knowledge, sororities have a lot of guidelines and a lot of standards that they have to meet, such as keeping a GPA, being involved in the community, having a high reputation for themselves and their sorority, and making sure that no negativity comes towards their chapter. Fraternities have such a terrible reputation because they are allowed to throw these events, and of course mistakes and problems are a result of some of these events. They're stereotyped into being lazy, good-for-nothing men that are considered the frat stars and live the frat star lives that involves being too hungover to get up for class, being arrested for public intoxication, and even attempting so hard to ending your night with a one-night stand. All jokes contain some type of truth behind it, because if they didn't, then they wouldn't be funny or even relevant. Sororities would fall under the exact same stereotype as fraternities if they were allowed to throw keggers at their house. The National Panhellenic Council, or the NPC, accounts for all Panhellenic sororities nationwide, and in their ethical contract it states that it is in accord with the dignity and good manner of sorority women to avoid negative publicity on Panhellenic matters. By seeing the amount of negativity associated with fraternities being allowed to host parties, the NPC would not ever vote on letting sororities drink at the house or even host parties with alcohol involved. After surveying 119 students, Harvard University of Public Health concluded that the problems associated with binge drinking included skipping class, falling behind on classes, getting in trouble with the law, being involved with unwanted sex or unprotected sex, or even injury. Just simply with the result of not meeting grades, would sororities not allow this at all. There's a reason why, after so many years that fraternities have been throwing parties and sexual crimes have been committed, that sororities have not changed their policies whatsoever. Sororities should not be allowed to throw parties simply because it would not benefit the fight for sexual assault. They do not entirely have full control of themselves or the environment, and because it would just cause issues within the organization overall. By adding another type of party choice is not going to help stop the problems associated with alcohol. It would only add more issues to students in the college administration. The alternative should be along the lines by decreasing partying, banning alcohol on college campuses, and regulating students heavily. Thousands of students attending colleges, it's almost nearly impossible to stop alcohol consumption overall. But by adding another source of being able to find alcohol will not stop any problems from continuing to happen. And although us women are better at men at anything we do, stopping the issues that come with alcohol consumption is definitely not one of them.